Now, Britain faces an alarming rise in intimidation and threats of violence against those perceived to have insulted Islam, and that's according to a new report. The findings come from a study by Alexander Melagru-Hitchens, a researcher at King's College London. And joining me now to discuss this is the author and academic Professor Frank Furedi. Frank, welcome to the show. And you've written a column, an excellent column, I say, in today's Mail about this precise thing. And you have grave concerns about us creeping from a position of medieval times where we had outright blasphemy. Of course, that changed, but now you believe, Frank, we're creeping back towards de facto blasphemy in the UK.
Yes, what we have is an informal blasphemy law, which basically says that you cannot make any critical comments that are directed at Islam or at Muslim people or Islamism, which basically means that a lot of people are forced to censor themselves. I talk to teachers who tell me that they are too scared to discuss the Holocaust in case it offends some of their Muslim students, and therefore they are keeping quiet about it. I've talked to history teachers who said that they are so careful when they're discussing historical facts not to offend Muslim sensibilities that they just merely change the subject. So we have a really big problem on our hands where the mere mention of the word Islamophobia is sufficient to shut discussion down. And I think that's, to me, is almost like a new form of blasphemy law where certain things can no longer be said without feeling that you're going to be punished.
And Frank, in 9 days' time, it will be the third anniversary of the Batley Grammar School teacher being forced into exile for showing a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, still in hiding in fear of his life, living under a different identity with his family and his wife. We've seen the Trojan horse scandal. We've seen a 14-year-old autistic boy in Wakefield damaging a Quran accidentally. Frank, a lot of people think we've already got blasphemy laws de facto in this country. We're not standing up to it. What can be done about it, Frank?
I think we need to start taking ourselves seriously. A little bit of courage would not go amiss. So in the case of the Batley School, I was shocked and surprised by the cowardice of the school authorities, by the willingness of the police to say, well, go into hiding. And when you think about it, a British citizen cannot make a public appearance for fear of being hurt or intimidated. And therefore, it's almost like as if it's a Second World War situation where you got to somehow change your identity just because you've offended a certain number of people who make it their business to shut you down, to scare you, and in some cases to exercise violence against you. And I think it's about time that we realize we've got a mega problem here, because as long as we ignore it and as long as we shut up the minute somebody says Islamophobia, I think our society is going to get unraveled and we'll be almost turned into a quasi-theocratic state, at least on the ground in certain areas of the country, where we almost go back into a kind of hyper-technocratic medieval world of blasphemy culture, which is not what we need in a democratic society.
Yeah, it's a chilling thought. Frank Furedi, thank you very much for joining us on the show. And yet many feel it might get worse because we may have a Labour government incoming redefining Islamophobia, redefining what that means and who can be punished and how. And many people fear it could be about to get a whole lot worse before it gets better.